Welcome back to College Football Addiction. Locked on Big 12's Drake C. Toll with us today. Drake, how you doing, bud?
Oh, TJ, it's BYU's undefeated. The Big 12 has an undefeated team right now. It's the best spot the conference could be in. And Texas Tech still looks great, as does Cincy and Houston. I feel great.
It's not just football, though. Is the Big 12 just dominating the landscape of college athletics right now?
Oh, well, excuse me, TJ. What a keen question you asked here.
What a transition there.
It does start with BYU, and a lot of folks will be like, we're tired of hearing those three letters, but there's no getting around it here. This is a tweet from First and 16 podcast. They say that if you add up the AP rankings for football and men's basketball, so those are the two revenue sports. And some schools are losing money off of their men's basketball team, but no one really making money off of baseball or volleyball or swimming. BYU in revenue sports, men's basketball and football, averaged number 9 ranking, the only top 10 team in both in the country. This athletic department is red hot. The money is there. The revenue is there. The fan support is there. BYU's won. So if you do that same thing, add up the rankings for football and men's basketball, you want it to be as low as possible. You want to be as high as you can be in the country. Alabama's 2, Texas Tech 3, Houston 4. We are seeing very high rankings from Houston basketball and now the football teams in there. Very high rankings from Texas Tech basketball and Texas Tech football, and elite rankings for BYU. There are only 4 major schools in the country that are seeing massive amounts of success in both football and men's basketball in these polls. They are BYU, Alabama, Texas Tech, and Houston. 3 of those 4 come from the Big 12. And previously, you could look at this and say, oh, it's just because the Big 12 is a great basketball conference. Well, no. We brought in the whole football thing here. Like now we're grabbing football and saying, hey, our brand as a conference doesn't just hinge on the round yellow ball. This is all about the gridiron and the investment from BYU, the investment from Texas Tech, and the ability for Houston to now take Power 4 resources and turn it into a winning tradition and a winning culture boosts the Big 12 conference. What's great about this, TJ, and this is where people really need to hang on to what I'm about to say, TNT's watching. Fox and ESPN, they already have their big cash cow. Fox loves the Big 10. They're going to give it to the Big 10. They give it to the Big 12 here and there. ESPN loves the SEC. They're going to stick with the SEC. They give it to the Big 12 here and there. TNT could become an A1 media rights partner for the Big 12 conference. And look, I know people who are like, yeah, I grew up watching Braves games. I love TNT. Like there are so many random things that TNT will throw out there. Basketball, NBA for many years. And people say, hey, I love TNT. March Madness, I have TNT. It's on every TV in the country. The Savannah Bananas are now on TNT as well. And the Big 12 conference could create, and this would, I don't mean to throw a stray out there, but I will. This could really hurt the ACC, but could create Fox to the Big 10, the SEC and ESPN, and then the Big 12 in lockstep with TNT making a whole lot of money. Now, is the revenue there for TNT to do that? Now that they don't have the NBA? Possibly. Now that some of their rights are expiring and they're not renewing? Possibly. They could put their eggs in the basket of the Big 12. And a reason to do that would be that 3 of the top 4 revenue athletics departments in the country are in the Big 12 conference.
It is pretty impressive when you think about what are the other 2 teams in there? I know I have the tweet right in front of me.
Alabama's in there. And then if you really want to break it down, Michigan and Tennessee also find themselves in the polls. But their rankings are too low to really mean as much. It's a little harder to lobby for those 2. So it's BYU, Alabama, Texas Tech, Houston.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Just want to quickly give some love to our friends over at Sleeper. Make sure that you have the Sleeper app downloaded. On Wednesday, we will play the More or Less game on the Power 2 Live. Hopefully you can make some money with us. If you do up to 100% deposit using our code CFA, you will get a 100% match. But if you don't want to deposit, we have a free $20 play for you. You don't need to pay anything. Just get your free $20 play on the Sleeper app. Use our code CFA. The link in the description will auto-populate it. Make some money with us. Check their terms and conditions because terms are used to apply. Now back to the video. Yeah, when you think about, Alabama specifically, just being the maybe the gold standard in football for the last 20 years, over that time frame, they make a lot of sense. But man, there's not, for Ohio State to not be there, for Georgia to not be there, for a lot of the other really good athletic programs. We think about Texas, we think about some of the really big football only, programs. For the Big 12 to have 3 is really, really impressive. You talk about just leveraging the potential TV networks, the deals, and we can look at it from both perspectives. Yeah, there is coming a day and we've talked about this extensively, there's coming a day where the ACC is going to deal itself quite a death blow. But even without that, even without the ACC maybe losing some of their bigger eyeball grabbers, it feels like the Big 12 is starting to separate, and a lot of it has to do with their leadership. And I don't know what so I want to get that, the side of elevating there, but then also the side of, man, is it feasible to think that the gap could close, even if just a little bit, even if you just stopped there from being such a gap, and you closed by, I don't know, 5 million, right? Then it's like you almost have this upward trajectory path to where you can become pretty competitive financially with the SEC and the Big Ten from a media payout standpoint. Just the gap not growing larger would be a huge win when they renegotiate in 2030, 2033. So I don't know, thoughts on all that.
Yeah, I think it's going to come from the brands getting bigger and bigger. It's going to come from the Big 12 flexing a Texas Tech, flexing a BYU, and those are the ones that come to mind first. I think Utah could be up there. Colorado with Deion Sanders could be up there. But look, the buck stops a lot of times, and I know you and I both get comments every week or two about like, oh, more BYU stuff. Man, it's hard to get around at some point. Like it's hard to really wax poetic right now about Kansas or Kansas State. It's hard to talk at length about UCF when you consider the fact that, BYU, when they first came to the Big 12, 10-8 in Big 12 play in basketball. They were 5-7 overall in football. Who would have thought 3 years later they'd be the bell cow possibly for the conference from a revenue and exposure standpoint? But it's where we sit. A TV network is going to want. Can I pivot a little bit there? I want to just new ideas pop in the brain here. But BYU is creating a little bit of what Clemson did. And you and I mentioned that most weeks as well, how Clemson kind of came out of nowhere. And 15 years ago, no one cared about them, and now they are the talk of the town. BYU and Texas Tech can create that. And the only thing that's kept the ACC with pretty solid media rights deals these last few years has been decent basketball, and then the success on the gridiron of Florida State, Clemson, and Miami. You have three brands keeping that conference in the good graces of an ESPN or of any network that's trying to give them money. In the Big 12, the more that we create a Clemson, a Florida State, a Miami via BYU, a Texas Tech, even a Cincinnati or a Houston, if they rise to the occasion, the more that we create that, the more money we're going to get to close that gap with the SEC. And it might not come from ESPN. It might be a TNT situation. It might be a Fox situation. But at this point, I don't think I care. The way that ESPN seems to have sold out when it comes to college football, what they want to cover, is something that Big 12 fans should be irked by. And if somebody else wants to give you a ton of money, I'm going to take it. And the only way you're getting all that money is by building big brands. And that's what the conference seems to be doing right now via the teams that I mentioned right there at the top.
You mentioned the brands, and people are, especially because of the last 2 years, specifically on BYU, BYU's brand is insane right now. And we've talked about this because of their faith and because of how many people, I know you worked some, I'm sure, with Jake Hatch over at Locked On Cougars. Just the way that it's so intertwined with just their faith and their alma mater and the competition standpoint, like, that brand is insane. And then you take a team, Houston, we were wondering what they would even look like. Would they even be in the top half of the Big 12 this year? They're capitalizing right now. We're not even, Texas Tech, they're doing a really good job right now of capitalizing on a windfall of money. And so people are talking about these teams. And going back to Houston, just quickly, as I go down these rabbit trails, they're in a major metropolitan city, right? They're not playing in Ames, Iowa, or Gainesville, Florida, or Columbus, they're in a huge area. And so the brands are becoming more recognizable. People are tuning in because they want to see if Bachmeier and BYU can keep doing it. People are tuning in because they want to see if the money that Campbell's spending at Texas Tech can continue to do it. I think people like Willie Fritz. And so the brands are such a big thing. Florida State 45 years ago was, maybe 50 years ago, was absolutely nothing. It wasn't a brand. And I'm not saying that it'll take BYU or any of these other programs 30 years because national television wasn't a real thing back then and ESPN was, but brands are built. Clemson for a long time was absolutely nothing. Miami for the last 20 years, although they have a history, has been nothing. You can build a brand up. Look at Vandy. Everybody tunes in to see Vandy play right now.
Yep.
And so you win. The old adage, you win and it fixes everything. You win and you build it and they will come. So
you win and you make money. That's what matters.